Alright, so we'll move to page 3 here. Oh, one last item I guess I didn't mention is that there's an automatic spell check option built in, so it'll spell check all of the written text that you put in to your adaptation or narratives here. Pretty handy. Okay, so page 3, it talks about neuro and airway status. So you can look at your options here. You have level of consciousness, alert, agitated, response to pain, restless, unresponsive, pretty straightforward. Mental status factors, combative, confused, all of these options that you have. Level, orientation, so you don't have to write in, alert and oriented times 3 or 4. You can actually select what they are oriented to. So let's say this patient was absolutely normal, which would refer to alert and oriented times 4. So we'll save that. Neurologic status, abnormal gait, confusion, weakness, facial group, any sort of paralysis, or the patient in a seizure, or they have tremors, has their speech, lots of stuff. So let's say the patient is completely normal. If it was a problem, like a stroke, you could put in the last time that they were seen normal. You can put in the date here, and then you could write the time in this field, but this patient is not suffering a stroke, so we don't need to worry about this. If you're performing a stroke scale, you could put the Cincinnati as to what level there was. But for this patient, it would be not applicable because we're not worried about a stroke. If stroke symptoms were resolved, but for this patient there are no stroke symptoms, so we'll select no. Was the patient chemically paralyzed? Were they immobilized? Did they lose consciousness? No, 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 no. Otherwise it would be a yes, or if you weren't sure, you could put unknown. Any sort of sensory issues or motor issues, motor compromise, you can put in there. You can assess the pupils. Are they normal, pinpoint, constricted? Do you have a size? Are they reactive? Are they slow, non-reactive, sluggish? Motor and sensory, you could put left arm weak or flaccid if they're having a stroke. Same thing with sensory, absent, diminished if they couldn't feel you touching a part of them. That works for all 4 extremities there. But if you notice, these were actually defaulted as normal, so you'd have to actually change them, so just be careful with that. Initial GCS, so you have a GCS calculator here. The patient, let's say they're normal, 4, 5, 6 to get 15, but you can obviously select whatever you'd like there. You can also hit this defaults button, and this will default any information that is completely normal for a patient. And these are just canned text that we put in there. You don't have to use that if you don't want to, but default will put everything as completely normal. Airway exam, if the patient had a patent airway, great. If it was compromised because they were unconscious or if they were already intubated, you could put secured. Airway exam, there's lots of options here. If they were obstructed, partial obstruction, complete obstruction, patent, secured, any sort of comments, and then anything that you want to put here. So patient's airway is patent. He's obviously doing that themselves, and that there's no change with that because that's just normal. And that's page 3. Very straightforward. See, as you go along here, these things, although they look like they might be a little, weighty in terms of what you have to do in terms of completing a chart, the default button helps, and this really isn't too much to fill out. And as you start doing more of these, it'll become much easier and much less time consuming to actually do that. So let's move on to page 4.